Hey, I'm Patrick Marlette, your local game guy, today with a top 10 guide on the latest combos from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. If you enjoyed this video, I highly encourage you to leave it a like. It does a whole lot to help this channel grow. Thank you so much. But without further ado, let's jump in no particular order with one of my favorite cards. Rosy Cotton of South Lane. For 2 generic and a white, 1/1 legendary creature, halfling peasant. When Rosy Cotton of South Lane enters the battlefield, create a food token. Whenever you create a token, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control other than Rosy. Rosy doesn't look like much of a commander, but it turns out she can do a lot of work in the 99 of some other commanders. If you're playing Gave? Let's go with Gave. You can get infinite death triggers with Phyrexian Altar and Rosy, sprinkling in some aristocrats for game. Or just go for infinite mana with Ashnod's Altar, making an infinite army of spores. In Marath, you can use Mana Echoes to get infinite mana and 1/1s as well as all the same Gave combos. Definitely a fun option in the 99 and a really great tool in some pre-established token manders, but that's not all Rosy can do. Our next 2-card combo involves the likes of Scurry Oak. For 2 generic, a green, 1/2 creature treefolk. Scurry Oak has Evolve, and whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on Scurry Oak, you may create a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. Selesnya has always had it rough with infinite combos, but Rosy may alleviate that problem a bit. Rosy with either Scurry Oak as mentioned or Herd Baloth will get you a token army, and 1 infinitely big creature. These are definite includes for any +1 manipulation decks, as it requires little effort on your part to search up with any creature tutors. Use an ETB effect, a sack outlet, or some mass haste enabling to win immediately, or just wait a turn and swing for the game. This makes up what is essentially a 3-card instant win option, Selesnya's more popular option being Heliod Ballista, but if your deck is again running off of +1 manipulation, this is kind of a definite include for you, but let me know if you are going to include Rosy in any of your decks. Next we have Aragorn the Uniter. For red, green, white, and blue 5/5 legendary creature, Human Noble. Whenever you cast a white spell, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Whenever you cast a blue spell, scry 2. Whenever you cast a red spell, Aragorn the Uniter deals 3 damage to target opponent. Whenever you cast a green spell, target creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. Aragorn is an outlet for literally every combo you could run that involves casting. Food Chain either gives you infinite burn or arranges the top of your library. Dockside Sabertooth does infinite damage. Dramatic Scepter stacks your library. Underworld Breach does everything you'd expect from Underworld Breach, but has yet another payoff in the CZ. Whether in the 99, or much more likely as your next commander, this deck does a lot. It's good! No arguing with Aragorn on that. I think you can play this card out early for value in case you're not comboing, though the lack of card draw will be unsatisfying for some. I like the idea of swinging a 9/9 or larger for commander damage at people. That just amuses me. Next up we have Samwise Gamgee. For a green and a white, 2/2, legendary creature, halfling peasant. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, create a food token. Sacrifice 3 food tokens. Return target historic card from your graveyard to your hand. With KCI and Samwise on the battlefield, play Mer Retriever to get a food token. Sacrifice them both, then play Junk Diver. Get a food token. Sacrifice Junk Diver to recur Mer Retriever. Repeat this process for infinite mana and infinite food. Like any good KCI list, you'll want to run your draw utilities, so the likes of Chromatic Star and Sphere are used to draw the deck and filter colorless within the same line of play. Samwise makes for a very interesting KCI commander. By no means is it the most efficient one, but it does have some recursion built in with its secondary ability. However, what if we added black to the equation? For this next line, we'll want to manipulate Protean Hulk. For 5 generic and double green, 6/6 creature beast. I'm going to read this off, but I bet you already know what it does. When Protean Hulk dies, search your library for any number of creature cards with total converted mana cost 6 or less and put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Meat and eggs we eat! Protean Hulk has an even more compact combo now. Get Samwise, Cauldron Familiar, Viserysir, and Grand Abolisher, getting some food tokens with Sam in the process. Sacrifice Familiar to Viserysir. Sacrifice a food to revive Familiar. Get another food token. Repeat for infinite damage. All while Grand Abolisher stops the table from interacting. I think this is where Samwise really shines, less so as a commander, but more in the 99 as part of a Hulk pile, because this is one of the cleanest setups we've ever had to date, and can slot into any deck that includes Abzan. The next combo we're discussing involves Born Upon a Wind. For a generic and a blue, instant speed. You may cast spells this turn as though they had flash. Draw a card. Born Upon a Wind will win the game as long as you have enough cards in hand. Use Ad Nauseam or Necropotence to put a bunch of cards in hand. To include Born Upon a Wind, if not already in hand. Then play your hand on your opponent's turn. If you have PETA and Wind under your wings, you can pay 9 to draw half your deck and win in response to your opponent's win. The possibilities are endless with some fast mana and Born Upon a Win. Again, the effects of this card have yet to be seen, but it's not hard to imagine how effective it will be to cast all of your cards as though they had flash for a mere 2 CMC. Next up, we have Bilbo Birthday Celebrant for Abzan 2/3 legendary creature Halfling Rogue. If you would gain life, you gain that much life plus 1 instead. For 2 generic Abzan, tap, exile Bilbo Birthday Celebrant. Search your library for any number of creature cards, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Activate only if you have 111 or more life. Winning not only the flavor game, but potentially the actual game. For Bilbo's birthday, you'll want to invite some friends that value life. Anything will do but to illustrate, let's say, Famished Paladin and Resplendent Mentor. Once your life total becomes that of Bilbo's age, you're able to search up any and all creature combos from your deck to win the game. Let's just say veto, as we've already established the Famished Paladin line in this example. What are some life generation combos you'll be putting into your Bilbo Birthday Celebrant list? I'd love to hear how you guys are brewing for this deck. It's by far one of the more interesting ones to come out from Lord of the Rings. Next up, we have Éowyn Shield Maiden for 2 generic and Jeskai 5/4 legendary creature Human Knight. First strike. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if another human entered the battlefield under your control this turn, create 2/2 red human knight creature tokens with trample and haste. Then if you control 6 or more humans, draw a card. If you played a human this turn, you can get 2 hasty tokens. Attack with and sacrifice said token to Breath of Fury to take an additional combat and make 2 more tokens. You'll always be up at least 1 token each combat, and as long as you're able to connect with 1 opponent, you'll make a small army of tokens to take infinite combats with. Well, until your opponents run out of life. I love Breath of Fury, and I'm always on the lookout for new legendaries that manipulate it well, and honestly, I think Éowyn might be one of the best ones. All of the great humans you find in Jeskai, not to mention the fact that she's a draw utility in the command zone. The one thing I'll say about this combo though is, just don't deck yourself. It will be hard to, but don't. Next we have Éomer, Marshal of Rohan for 2 generic, double red, 4/4 legendary creature, Human Knight. Haste. When 1 or more other attacking legendary creatures you control die, untap all creatures you control. After this phase, there is an additional combat phase. This ability triggers only once each turn. Now how do we make this combo? Say if Éomer attacks with Myriad, you'll make 2 attacking Éomer tokens with fresh abilities. They'll die as a state-based action due to the legend rule, granting you 2 additional combats. You'll punch everyone down until you have 1 opponent left. As long as you have another creature to help dole out damage on that final swing, you'll win the game. Myriad combos with legendaries have always been a bit fiddly, and this combo is truly no different, but if you've been looking at that Blade of Selbs in your collection and have been wanting to combo with it, this may be the spot for you. Next we have Orcish Bowmasters. Yes, there's a combo. For a generic and a black, 1/1 creature Orc Archer. Flash. When Orcish Bowmasters enters the battlefield, and whenever an opponent draws a card except the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, Orcish Bowmasters deals 1 damage to any target, then the all-important Amass Orcs 1. If Orcish Bowmasters wasn't strong enough, it's also a combo card. You can sacrifice any creature to Razaketh to find Bowmaster. Then sacrifice the Orc token from Bowmaster's ETB to find Dark Deal. Dark Deal will give you a bunch of Bowmaster triggers. In between each trigger, you can sacrifice your army for a tutor until you've tutored up the perfect hand. At this point, you can win with anything you want. The Bowmasters didn't need to be any more effective, and yet they are. This is easily the best card from the set for Commander, and now you have 1 more reason to include it in your decks. But before you jump off this video, we have some honorable mentions for you, 3 that came from this set, combos that you might want to include in a deck or 2. Honorable mention number 1 is the Watcher in the Water for 3 generic and double blue 9/9 legendary creature Kraken. The Watcher in the Water enters the battlefield tapped with 9 stun counters on it. Whenever you draw a card during an opponent's turn, create a 1/1 blue tentacle creature token. Whenever a tentacle you control dies, untap up to 1 target Kraken and put a stun counter on up to 1 target non-land permanent. When you draw on an opponent's turn, the Watcher will make you a tentacle that, when it dies, will untap a Kraken. If you give the Watcher a tap to draw effect, while you have a sack outlet, you can draw through your whole deck. If we ever get a Changeling Looter, this combo becomes much easier. Honorable mention number 2 is Goldberry River Daughter for a generic and a blue 1/3 legendary creature Nymph. Tap, move a counter of each kind not on Goldberry River Daughter from another target permanent you control onto Goldberry. For a blue, tap, move 1 or more counters from Goldberry onto another target permanent you control. If you do, draw a card. Let me preface by stating this combo is not good, but come on, who can resist a Magosi the Water Veil combo? Tap Magosi to get an Eon counter on it and move the counter onto Goldberry, and proliferate it with something like Thrumming Bird. After you get past your skipped turn, you can move one of the Eon counters from Goldberry to Magosi, bounce Magosi to take an extra turn, and play it as your land per turn. Repeat this to take infinite extra turns. Not a very competitive combo, but you'll get some serious bragging rights if you pull it off. And lastly, you thought about it, we thought about it. Honorable mention number 3 is Peregrine Took for 2 generic and a green, 2/3 legendary creature, halfling citizen. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, create those tokens plus an additional food token are created instead. And the all-important sacrifice 3 foods, draw a card. If you activate Ant Queen, you'll get a food from Took. If you have a haste enabler, let's say Concordant Crossroads, and Jaheira, you get infinite tapped food and 1/1s. From there, you can use Took to draw your deck. You can also replace the Concordant Crossroads with Academy Manufacturer to get infinite untapped tokens for infinite mana and draw. Whew, that's all of the combos that we noticed from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. Let us know if we missed any in the comment section down below, or if there are more efficient playlines for the ones we did mention. The show is all about the conversation, so do leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. But I'm your host, Patrick Marlette, your local game guy, and for more news and updates on your favorite TCGs, subscribe to LGG and send this video along to the next gamer with a like. Thank you so much.